That's so loud.
If I were to ask you what the most reliable car of all time was, what would you choose? Would it be an old Volvo or say an old Toyota? Well, the car that I would probably choose for this award is the Lexus LS400. With its incredibly smooth 1UZ Lexus V8, these cars have been known to pretty much live forever, and this one is no different. This is the world famous YouTube legend 1 million mile Lexus, where many journalists in the car world have driven this car to 1 million miles, and most of the parts are all original. So my question is, even though it reached 1 million miles, what is it like to drive a car with 1 million miles on the odometer? So let's go for a drive and find out. Hey Mike, what are we in right now?
We are in the world famous 1 million mile Lexus LS400, and we're just chilling.
You know what's hysterical? I've driven several 1UZ engines, but never in the original car.
That is interesting. We were just talking about that yesterday, how popular of a swap this is to put in other cars.
First time I drove 1UZ was actually in a first-gen Toyota Celica.
That's
the rear-wheel drive, and it had a Terminator Cobra supercharger on it out in Hawaii. And then the second time I drove it was a full-on drag car, FB RX-7 twin turbo 1UZ. I feel very honored to drive this right now because when I started YouTube as a wee lad,
a young, innocent David,
this was driven by literally all the people I looked up to. Smoking tire, decal still on the back. Matt Farah drove this a lot. Basically, the goal of this car was to get it to 1 million miles, and now it's there. I think the best thing about it is you restored pretty much the exterior of it especially. So
yes.
Could you go through the whole process, because this is currently owned by Freddie.
Freddie Hernandez, aka Tavares, currently owns the car. He bought it from Matt Farah for $1. And you know, he had some fun with it, drove it around, did car track. He actually did a lot with this car. It was just hanging out, and I said, hey Freddie, I actually quit my job to be a YouTuber. Building project cars gets a little pricey. You know nothing about that. Let me explain to you how it works. You spend all your money in credit cards to build a project car, and you run out of money. Freddie said, hey man, look, Jack's real busy, I'm busy. I would love for you to restore the 1 million mile Lexus because you just quit at the Lexus dealership where you were doing bodywork on Lexus. So it's like perfect. And I was like, absolutely. I, like you, also watched the story of the 1 million mile Lexus, so I myself was quite honored that I was entrusted to restore this car. Beat is an understatement. This car was absolutely ravaged. I'm pretty sure it had visited every Walmart parking lot and shopping cart, you know, in its life. So it was in horrible condition.
Including Harvey Dent.
Harvey Dent was a huge dent. It used everything I learned doing body work. Plus, I had to get my friend Jay at Solvent Division and John, who still works at the Lexus dealership, to help me get this thing done because it was so much work. And Jack from Jack Builds It came up from Orlando and also helped me get some dents out of this thing. And we repainted it the OEM color. It is all OEM body panels. It is, the VIN tags are still on the body panel, so it is the original fenders. But we didn't want to make it something it's not, just replace everything.
Yeah, because then I think it takes it away, and almost like the credibility's gone. You know, it's like if you put a whole new motor in it and stuff, it'd be like, okay, cool. You're just another dude with an LS400.
Yeah, you just swapped a bunch of parts out. We recondition everything, so if you want to see the process, by all means, please come check out my YouTube channel, Elsie's World.
Yep, plug it right there.
Yeah, that'd be great. I greatly appreciate it. I'm very new to YouTube, but I'm having the time of my life.
He might help me with a project in the future, maybe. Don't know yet. We'll see.
I'm encouraging him to make really bad decisions like I do.
No, he just hates that I've been burned so many times, so he's like, how about we do it the right way this time?
Yeah, I want to see him take a car and I want David to have fun. I want him to have fun. That's why he came over and drove my Supra.
That was a good time.
2-3 years ago.
Yep.
We had so much fun.
Dude, I think the craziest thing is, okay, the interior stuff, like you could pop the door things out and some stuff like that, but overall, the interior is much better than I expected. Don't get me wrong, the steering wheel's really worn out, but everything else at first glance, if you were to replace just the steering wheel, which don't, but you know what I mean, you wouldn't know.
You got to stay tuned because the journey isn't over for this car.
Right.
There's actually a lot of things that could very well be happening to this car, so just stay tuned.
For people who don't know, the Lexus LS400 was 1UZ V8. What's funny is somebody used them as swaps, but what made them so great was their longevity. You know, stock and sealed longevity.
Yep.
It was built to go forever.
Exactly. And the earlier ones, if we want to get in the weeds, had thicker rods, and then the later ones like this one had thinner rods, and people would hate on it. Oh, that's a thin rod motor. Well, the odometer says it's just fine.
So I have to ask, I sense a little bit of rotational something under me. Is that a wheel bearing or something?
You know, look. Again, it's not done. A project car is never done, David. Did you know this?
Fortunately.
There's still a few things that will be done to this car, and some of it we're just, these are some very fun curvy roads.
It's actually really fun in the freaking boat. Because when I think of a million-mile Lexus, or when I did when I was younger, was just people literally driving on highways like aimlessly to just get the number up. Now it's weird that all these years later I'm driving it, one, but two, yeah, the LS400, I think this just proves it was just a really great car, and it had a very executive feeling at the time.
I feel like a dentist right now. You see how I wore my Lexus sweater? Because I feel like this is, I'm actually about to take this back to the Lexus dealership, so you'll see my video on that. I'm gonna wear this sweater to the dealership, and they'll be like, you're an LS400 owner from 1998, aren't you? Like, I'm a dentist or an attorney, you know, that's who drove these things, right?
Yeah. The wiring is a big one for me, because you were talking about how the windows still worked, and like all the sunroof still works.
The electric trunk, the electric fuel door opener still works. The power seats work. They sound like they're, you know, like how well these things did with the materials from the 90s.
They don't build them like they used to, son.
You know, like this is a case for that, except new Lexuses still go a very long time as well. Yeah, and Toyota. Look at the newer Land Cruisers, man. Like people are racking up miles on those.
What's so interesting is that this car in my brain has either been a legacy car where somebody kept it forever and they never sold it and they just kept driving it.
Yeah.
Or it's like a hot boy car. You know what I mean? Like stanced out.
You know the meme first owner versus sixth owner? Yeah.
One owner car, and it's like some hot boy with a perm haircut.
Yep.
Or the Edgar cut. And he's like, haha, I can't wait to ruin this thing.
At the dealership, we would have original owners come in that still had these cars in beautiful shape that left them in the garage. And like, hey, the bumper got scuffed and we would fix it, you know? And it was just amazing. And they're like, yeah, we love this car and we have a brand new RX as well, but I can't sell my LS400. And you also have a 16-year-old driving an LS400 on bags with freaking 20s on it.
Yeah, where they got a loan to buy their wheels.
Yeah.
I mean, at the same time, what's so funny about this motor, though, is that it always sounded like it had way more power than it did. You know what I mean? And that's not an insult to it. It just was so funny because it screams with an exhaust, right? One thing I really never made a connection about was last year I drove Divine Media's Toyota Century.
Oh,
you know, 97 or so, I believe. It's on bags and beautiful wheels and everything. It's gorgeous and it's long body. But driving that, you almost, when you drive the LS400, you almost feel like the trickle down from it.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're like, oh, they definitely took philosophies from that car to there, and that's not a connection I would have ever made before driving that.
I mean, I seriously feel like we could roll up anywhere. And I know the stickers, I know some people didn't like the stickers or the window tint, made it look cheaper.
Whatever.
But it's kind of the history of it. I'm not gonna take them off. Like, that'll be
leave it, dude.
Yeah. Again, it's not my car, so I didn't want to, you know. I feel like we could literally valet park this thing at the fanciest restaurant if we were wearing the right clothes, and no one would think anything of it.
Well, especially post-restoration. You know, like, it's just...
Post-restoration,
yes. Well, the big thing for me is the two-tone.
Oh, it's beautiful.
The fact that you nailed the two-tone is just so incredible.
But that was a lot. Jay from Solid Division, great friend of mine. We've been rebuilding junker cars for a very long time now, and yeah, so I sprayed a lot of the primer, but I kind of chickened out with how expensive paint materials are. I was like, look, dude, like, I want it to be on you, not me, if something, you know. But he did a beautiful job on it, and dude, it hasn't been wet sanded, buffed, color corrected, anything. Oh, the windshield squirter things work.
Really?
Everything works, dude.
Because that's usually with the old Japanese cars a big weak link, especially with Nissan.
Right. One of them squirts that way, so make sure there's pedestrians nearby and they'll get washed too. But,
do you remember when people would like wire up a hose to their thing and troll people with it?
That's what we did in high school.
Yeah.
We had the PA, we're like, hey, move out of the roads, you know. Yeah. What are your thoughts on this thing? Like, how much would you pay for this car too? That's another thing. How much is this worth?
I have no idea.
At some point it goes, you see a LS400 with 300, 400, 500,000 miles on it, and you're like, that's a $500,000 car. But now you walk up, it becomes a point where it's like, oh, it's got $1 million. It's never gonna die. I'll pay 10 grand because like, this is a weird scenario.
No, it is a weird thing of psychology, because there's really good video essays on YouTube about basically collecting and the value of things, because it's all about the story of things. How do you value literally a story? And a lot of it is a guess. And it's like people who trade old Charizard holographic Pokemon cards, right? First of all, I'm salty I never got one, and I played Pokemon like crazy.
Same.
But two, you know, that card that would have gone for what, 20 bucks or whatever back in the day is now, who knows? It's one of those things where if you know the YouTube history and you know the value of it and the stories, the people who drove it, the journalists who drove it, all the different people.
That's interesting. So even without the story, with the way the car sits now, I feel like there's a ton of value to it. But then, like you said, if you know the story of it, this thing's been on YouTube forever. It's still on YouTube. You're doing it, I did it, and there's more planned for it. So it's just insane. I feel like this transmission might be getting a little old.
No, what? No.
Freddie Tavares is like, what's wrong with the transmission? And I'm like, I don't know, man. Do you feel it? Do you feel a little...
Well, I haven't given it the beans yet. I feel like that's where it would go wrong.
Yeah, I never gave it the beans either.
Here's my problem. I've driven so many boxes that this is like, oh, this is a nice car. Like, my brain just goes straight to, oh, it's a pretty nice car.
You know very well, any car, especially like in the 240SX world, if it looks good, it can have no drivetrain in it. If it has aero, nice paint, nice engine bay, nice door jamb paint, nice interior, even with no drivetrain, you'll pay 10 grand for that.
Yeah, because you can't find them.
You can't find them. So like with this, it's like, it looks beautiful. Even if it blew up, I'm willing to spend good money on it because it looks so good now. Like, if you think about it, if you had a 240 with a nice drivetrain in it, but it had 20 different color body panels, they're sprayed, it looked like this. Full of body filler, like, you wouldn't want it. This one has been gotten right because I wanted to do some pro bono philanthropy for YouTube and bring a piece of history back to life. And it's just what I was passionate about, what I wanted to do to bring this car back. And it's for my buddy Freddie. And you know, I just feel good about it. There's nothing more rewarding than like getting your project done. I did say I restored it, and people are like, you didn't really fully restore it. No, I didn't want to replace everything in it. Like, I just wanted to do the body and make it look
aesthetically.
But it's not done. It's not done. I did say I restored it, and people are like, you didn't really fully restore it. No, I didn't want to replace everything in it. Like, I just wanted to do the body and make it look
aesthetically.
But it's not done. It's not done.
I think it's better that way, though. Like we said before at the beginning of the video, I think it's better to have basically the stress test of everything.
Yeah, let's see how much further it'll go. If they offered a new LS, do I trade in Freddie's car and not tell him? How mad would he be if I showed up and he's like, that's not my car?
Oh my God.
and this is the world we're in. He would probably be upset if I gave him a brand new LS and not this car, because this thing's so cool now.
Oh, I know. Personally, I've been hunting for something that upsets me about the transmission, but I think it's geared so well that I'm coasting 90% of the time.
True. They put some R&D into this thing.
Yes, they did. All right, that's flooring it.
And it's not smoking either.
You can blame me if something comes out.
Boom!
It's geared so well that you barely have to accelerate. You can just big toe it the whole time and it just goes, and it's a heavier car as well, so it just kind of does its thing.
What an amazing car.
It really is. Underappreciated for sure.
And for the money, I bought a parts car for this car for $2,100 that has 148,000 miles on it. That was bought brand new at the dealership. I quit. I'm like, this isn't a parts car. So I took the headlights and a couple things out and put them in this car. And now I'm like, okay, I'm gonna find new headlights for that car now. The
How backwards is it that your parts car is not the million-mile Lexus? You know what I mean? Like the one that has so many more miles on it.
It's so weird, like the world we live in. Since 2020, the car world has been flipped upside down. We now value these things. We now value, like, when you couldn't get new cars, everyone realized how great these older cars were, and that's why we're restoring them, rebuilding them, bringing them back. It's a safe car. I feel comfortable like putting my daughters in here. It's a very well built, being in the collision industry from a crash rating perspective, it's well built. The intrusion beams are huge in these doors.
Yeah, it's a tank.
It's a tank in a good way. It would still crumble.
Right.
I had one subscriber, sadly, sent me a picture of his LS that got hit in the rear. It was actually a Toyota Celestitor. It's imported from Japan.
Yeah.
And someone rear-ended him so bad, like there was no trunk left, but the way the car crumpled, it did its job and compressed and absorbed the wreck. And he said he was hurt, but not bad. I mean, like he walked away, like he was hurting. He was safe and his friend was fine. And yeah, I was trying to like get a fender for this car because it was the same color, but we ended up saving this fender, thank God. But wow, was that. David, thanks for coming to see me as always. I love hanging out with you. You're such a fun, you're a real car guy.
Thanks,
you know,
man.
some guys get burned out after being in the car so long, and I'm a psycho, you're a psycho, we still love them. And
I still love them.
I'll never
punishment. Not love them.
We love the punishment. It's always great seeing you, man. And if you don't mind, if you enjoy this kind of content, seeing junky cars get fixed up on a newbie's YouTube channel, mine's nothing like David's.
But he's underselling himself. Go see his channel.
Come check out my channel. I'll comment on this video something. You know, I'll bust David's acorns, as we say here in Alabama. I hope you guys come over to my channel. That would be fantastic. I would greatly appreciate it. Not because daycare and diapers are literally running like my world. My world revolves around that right now. But yes, anything would help. I appreciate it. Come watch the restoration of this car. And I'm actually restored a few other cars. We're having so much fun. And David and I are coming up with some really bad ideas of some things we could do together.
He's a bad influence.
I really am, but I want you to fall in love with the race cars again and come have some fun with me. So thank you, David. Thank you for coming.
Well, let me drive, and also Freddie, by proxy, thank you for letting me drive as well.